From WABE in Atlanta, this is Savory Stories, a show where we take a look at Atlanta's people through its cuisine and food history.
On this podcast, we trace Atlanta's food history from the past to the present, getting to know Atlanta's culinary creators and demystifying stereotypes about food.
I'm Akila McConnell, culinary historian and owner of Unexpected Atlanta Tours, the #1 rated Atlanta tour and activity on TripAdvisor.
And I'm Chef Asata Reed, owner of Life Chef, where we help you live a life you love, and the author of How to Feed a Kid, A Parent's Guide. Now today, we are talking about franchises and chain restaurants that got their start right here in the ATL.
That's right. Foodies might sneer at chain restaurants, but you know what? Every chain restaurant, it got its start as a single location, often manned by the original owner. And our city has produced some of the country's most iconic chains.
I feel a world-famous chicken sandwich coming on.
You got it, Asata. So let's start with the obvious one, Chick-fil-A. Truett Cathy grew up in the outskirts of Atlanta, the son of a boarding house owner who learned how to cook by actually helping his mother as she served the family guests. He went to Atlanta's Boys High School, and like any other teenage boy at the time, he used to take his girlfriend to the Varsity in his Ford Model T. He later said that he used to admire the owner of the Varsity and how the owner always treated his customers and made sure that the food was great. And the Varsity, it inspired Truett Cathy to get into the restaurant business.
I love it. An Atlanta icon, the Varsity, influenced another Atlanta icon, Chick-fil-A.
So in 1946, Cathy opened up a little restaurant with his brother called the Dwarf Grill in Hapeville, Georgia. And if you're wondering why Hapeville, well, it was a strategic decision. The Ford assembly plant and Delta Airlines headquarters were both nearby, and his idea was a fast food restaurant like the Varsity, or let's say the other word, McDonald's, where workers could go and grab lunch, would make a ton of money. His idea was that fried chicken sandwiches, like the one his mother used to make for her boarding house guests, would just be the star.
But hold up, fried chicken is not a fast food. How did he envision taking something that requires all that prep and cook time and turning it into a quick lunch for workers?
No, you're totally right. So actually, originally, Cathy got really frustrated because he had this vision to turn fried chicken into fast food, but he couldn't make his sandwiches as quickly as burger chains would. And if you've ever made fried chicken at home, you understand why. It's a process.
It is a 2-day process in our house. Just the marination alone.
It takes time. So he decided to actually start from scratch and rethink what fried chicken could be. His invention was a thin, boneless chicken breast fried quickly and seasoned. Actually used a type of pressure cooker in the beginning. And it was slapped on a bun with their signature sauce. He called his sandwich the Chick-fil-A. Now, initially, he did not open up a lot of restaurants. Initially, he just licensed the sandwich to over 50 restaurants, including Waffle House. So can you imagine? You could have gone to a Waffle House back in the 60s and had a Chick-fil-A. But later, he decided to open up individual restaurants in food courts, in malls. And the very first one was at Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta in 1967.
If you grew up in the 80s around Atlanta, was it even a mall food court if it didn't have a Chick-fil-A?
I don't think so. So today, there are over 3,000 Chick-fil-A locations in nearly 1,500 cities across the world. The headquarters is still here in Atlanta. You would think that we would take the crown for the most Chick-fil-A's, but actually that crown goes to Texas.
Oh, man.
But we do take the crown for the most Chick-fil-A's per capita, meaning that we have 259 Chick-fil-A's, or about one restaurant for every 41,000 people in the state. I think we can use some more, right?
Well, according to my son, yes. He pretty much thrives and lives on Chick-fil-A.
We have about 8% of the total number of Chick-fil-A's in the world here in Georgia.
Well, Atlanta loves some Chick-fil-A, that's for sure. The only problem is they're closed on Sundays. So we've got an answer or a solution for that. During the pandemic, copycat recipes had their moment because people had time and they missed their favorite foods. Even I tried the famous copycat Chick-fil-A recipe, And the one that rang true for me is from tastebetterfromscratch.com. We'll post a link to their recipe, but it includes the batter, the coating, and the famous Chick-fil-A sauce. Now, we'll post all of that in the show notes, but spoiler alert, the secret is pickle juice as the marinade for the chicken breast.
Y'all can't see me on the radio or on this podcast, but I'll tell you what, my eyes are very wide right now. Pickle juice on marinade, I'm not believing it. I mean, maybe it makes sense. That saltiness, right? Yeah, okay.
That certain je ne sais quoi that Chick-fil-A fried chicken has. It's pickle juice.
I love that. So, in addition to Chick-fil-A at every mall as a kid, there was another really popular mall restaurant. It was my favorite, my birthday choice. That was Great American Cookies.
Oh, yes.
And believe it or not, Great American Cookies also got its start here in Atlanta.
I never knew that.
So in 1977, after working in the clothing industry for 17 years, a man named Michael Coles opened the first Great American Cookie Company at Perimeter Mall with an investment of just $8,000. So not a huge investment. 6 weeks after the store opened, he was riding his motorcycle when it flipped over a small rock in the road to basically teeter on the brink of death.
Whoa, wait, that's awful and a really dark origin story for a cookie company. So what happened?
Yeah, he actually said that this motorcycle accident was this revolutionary moment where he said he had to succeed. He was determined to succeed, both in recovering his health and growing his business. He cycled nearly every day, and in 5 years, he broke a world record by cycling from Savannah to San Diego in 15 days.
That's wild.
In the same time, Asata, as if that wasn't enough, he rapidly expanded Great American Cookie Company, and by 1985, the company was the largest cookie chain in the United States. I mean, that's basically 7 years. So in 1988, Coles sold his business for $100 million. This is just 11 years after he opens it up. And then he went on to become CEO of Caribou Coffee, another Atlanta favorite, taking Caribou public. By the way, as if he hadn't done enough, Coles was then appointed chair of the Georgia Film, Video, and Music Advisory Board, which passed the first tax incentive for Georgia Film. So yes, you can thank the founder of Great American Cookies for the reason that we see Atlanta in every single Marvel movie that is out there. So by the way, today, Great American Cookies has 400 locations across 31 United States and 5 countries worldwide.
Oh, Akila, that's a great story and a 3-for-1. We got Great American Cookie Company, and as a team, to get one of those from your boo was the ultimate profession of love back in the day. We got Caribou Coffee, and you just sailed right over that one. We're going to have to circle back on Caribou. Was that Atlanta-based too, or did he just level up as a millionaire in that position?
It wasn't Atlanta-based. That was a level up.
Okay. And we have Atlanta as home base for these Marvel franchises, all from one person, Michael Coles. He was clearly an overachiever and has me rethinking how I spend my weekends.
Me too. Me too. I'm a little tired just sounding to him. Right.
Get my priorities together. Akila, as I said, those Great American Cookie Cakes were the ultimate declaration of love or celebration back when we were in high school. And if you need some nostalgic dopamine or just want to carry on the traditions, you will want to check out the copycat recipe posted at Flour de Liz. It's like Fleur de Lis, but flour because she bakes and Liz is her name. Anyway, we'll post the recipe in the show notes, but 2 things to be aware of. Use unsalted butter and kosher salt as indicated in the recipe. If you go off script, you have to deal with the consequences, and the recipe is now yours. Also, don't skip the corn syrup. It's what gives the cookie cake that tender, soft cookie texture that doesn't over crisp. The fun part of making the cookie cake at home is you can decorate it however you want. Happy birthday, prom proposal, congrats on your new job, whatever comes to mind. Every day is a celebration.
The other thing I like about making cookie cakes at home is I can make them the size I want them, right? Like, I don't know how to make them these like huge cookie cakes that's pizza size. I make like my own little mini cookie cakes just for me and the hubs. So.
Cute.
Okay, we talked about Chick-fil-A and Great American Cookies. So, Asata, now are you ready for me to blow your mind?
You mean you have more?
I do. After a quick break, we will be back with the story of Bill and TJ Palmer. Let me tell you the story of Bill and TJ Palmer. Bill Palmer graduated from West Georgia College in 1972 and joined the Burger King Corporation, working there as a franchise manager and director of management training. Meanwhile, he and his wife, TJ, had an idea to create a new fast casual restaurant that had a friendly neighborhood pub feel to it. There was an old Judy's Hamburger building on Memorial Drive right off of I-285 in Decatur, Georgia. And so in 1980, TJ and Bill scraped together $40,000 and they opened up a new restaurant.
Let me see if we can piece together these clues. Burgers, neighborhood pub, Memorial Drive. Sounds like a place that got real famous for their cocktails for happy hour, too. But what other historical clues do you have for us?
Okay, so Bill and TJ had a big issue. They didn't have a name for their new business. They actually sat down one night and they started flipping through the phone book. This is, by the way, back in the days when there were phone books. Gen Z,
remember those?
Yeah, Gen Z is not going to connect with this story at all. But anyway, they settled on the name Appleby, spelled Appleby. But it was unfortunately already registered in the Georgia State Registry. So the two of them kept on trying out different names. They considered cinnamon and pepper, but none of the names they liked were available. Finally, they went back to their original name and changed the spelling slightly, calling it TJ Applebee's Incorporated. The first TJ Applebee's RX for edibles and elixirs opened up on Memorial Drive in Decatur, Georgia on November 19th, 1980. TJ was actually the one that added the words edibles and elixirs because she said she didn't want it to be the same old grill and bar adjectives that you found everywhere else. That night, they offered free food and invited anyone who would walk in.
I forgot TJ was in front of Applebee's. I also never knew that was an Atlanta institution. When I hear Applebee's, I think of the quintessential chain restaurant.
You're right. And, at the beginning, Applebee's was just a mom and pop operation with this husband and wife team. Their corporate office was out of their home. So funny story, you've probably seen on Applebee's all of the pictures on the walls, right? So in the beginning, those were real autographed pictures. TJ used to write to lots of famous actors and musicians and celebrities and ask for autographed photos and just ask them for their help. Say, hey, we're the struggling small business. Will you send us an autograph? And they did so. And that's how all that original, I don't know what the
Decor,
I don't know what you even call it.
Applebee's-esque.
Applebee's-esque. And now it's such a thing,
it's
right?
It's
a thing, but it started off in this very humble way. Unfortunately, TJ's and Bill's marriage started to crack under the pressure of their rapidly growing business. Ultimately, the two sold the business to W.R. Grace, and they divorced, though Bill continued to hold on to Applebee's franchises for many years and continued in a leadership advisory role.
Their influence left a legacy on America for sure. Just think of how many movies have settings or characters working in places that look just like Applebee's.
Office Space comes to mind.
Okay, immediately. Applebee's, Chick-fil-A, and the American Cookie Company are so very much a part of the fabric of American food since the late 1900s. They are each iconic in their own way and part of our collective culture. And to think, it all started here in the ATL. Let's go to our listeners. What are some of your favorite homegrown franchises? And what copycat recipes do you like to make at home?
You know, Asta, my favorite Atlanta-based chain restaurant has to be the iconic, the one and only Waffle House.
Of course. And for mine, as a dedicated pizza lover, I got to go with Atlanta-based Mellow Mushroom.
Love it. We can't wait to hear all of your answers. Thank you all for joining Savory Stories. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you do that kind of thing with your favorite podcasts.
We'll be back in a few weeks with a new episode. See you then.
Savory Stories is produced by Crystal Devone and Kevin Rinker, with additional production and editing from Scotty Crow. The series was created by Summer Evans and premiered on City Lights with Lois Rices. For more information, visit wabe.org/Savory Stories.
WABE.